Hi folks, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my cartoon countdown of the week, along with a preview of my upcoming book coming out in January, basic previews of that book. And I'd like to get started right now. The cartoons are based on impressions on Twitter, going up to #1 of the week. Here we go. Let's have a go at it. First, I'm going to introduce you to the characters in this cartoon. Okay, there's Mitch McConnell, and there's Lindsay, and guess who that is? You recognize him from the hearings? Very vocal, pro-Trump lawmaker in the House. Okay, now here, let's have a go at the cartoon. Trump reportedly taking acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney idea to open up Camp David as an adult playground to butter up Republicans before the big impeachment vote in both the House and Senate, to make Republicans feel as if they are part of the president's family, President Trump's family. You know, hop in the hot tub, let's get together, have some sandwiches, you know, that kind of thing, you know, and make it more difficult for them to vote in favor of impeaching him in the wake of the hearings. Below, in the master spa at Camp David, where leading Republican lawmakers sing along with Senator Mitch and with Senator Lindsey Graham. Okay, so here they are in the hot tub. Here they are singing along. Here's a couple people I did caricatures of. These are the Republicans in the hot tub at Camp David at the invitation of President Trump. There you see the mountains, lots of mountains up there at Camp David, and the clouds and the mountains, okay, in the background of the hot tub, okay. And here is Lindsey Graham is going to sing, going to sing a song that I kind of wrote that I thought would be appropriate. There goes Lindsey here, okay. We love you, President Trump. Oh, yes, we do. No matter what you do, impeachment will always make us blue because we love you. So, there they are. Okay, and let's see here. That was, okay, this was again, the idea of Mick Mulvaney presented to President Trump, and they kind of got together on this retreat over the weekends for Republican lawmakers. Okay. Okay, let's have a go at the next one. Okay, here's the characters here. Here's former President Richard Nixon coming back as a ghost into the returning to the Oval Office. And here's President Trump listening to what he had to say here. So here it goes, the introduction. The ghost of Nixon returns to counsel Trump following the president's $1 million donor man, EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland, making it clear to the committee that he, Energy Secretary Rick Perry, and Ambassador Kirk Volker did not want to work with Mr. Rudy Giuliani on the Ukraine matter, but did so at the express direction of the President of the United States. Mr. Giuliani demanded that Ukraine make a public statement announcing investigations of the 2016 election DNC server and Burisma. The Ukrainian gas company, Burisma was a Ukrainian gas company tied to Joe Biden's son, in exchange for Giuliani arranging a White House visit for President Zelensky. Sondland went on to say his lawyer had made multiple requests for his White House phone records, all of which were denied. So Mr. Sondland wanted to hit the nail on the head and say it like it was apparently, and he couldn't get the information that he needed from the White House. So at this junction, here comes, okay, President Nixon, the ghost of Nixon returns. So he's saying President Trump is reacting to Sondland's statement, basically saying that this is President Trump's man, Sondland, who gave $1 million to his campaign and handpicked by him to be the European ambassador. So there's nothing you could say against him as being a never Trumper. So now here's Trump reacting to that statement, that he's basically requesting information, and he's telling the story of that Giuliani had basically a quid pro quo in terms of getting the meeting. They had to make the announcement that they were investigating Joe Biden's son, Burisma, which people now say was code for Joe Biden's son. So that's all the connections there. So here goes. And then he goes, President Trump reacts to that and he says, that F blank blank, weak Sondland, this is terrible, S-H-I-T, what should I do now? And what should I do now? And here comes the ghost of Nixon coming on into the Oval Office. And here's Nixon. There we go, here he is, offering some advice based upon past experience of his. Burn all the F blank blank records. Deny, deny, deny. Have faith in the great support of your loyal Republicans, which I never got. F blank blank Goldwater. Well, I know a lot of people around today don't remember Barry Goldwater, but it's interesting to take for those of you to look back in the history of what Goldwater did as a Republican in regards to President Nixon, how he stood up and walked into that. I did this before, but I have to say it again. And what we're seeing now with Senator Lindsey Graham and others, and what we just saw with Senator John Kennedy, where are the Goldwaters of today? You know, we have Republican Trumpers. We don't have American Republicans. We have Trump Republicans. It seems that way. You know, that's the way it seems, because to go with the narrative that this whole thing was caused by Ukraine, that they hacked into the DNC, or even to question our own intelligence, is which is not are unanimous. It's unanimous. All intelligence services of the United States, to question them is automatically to go on the side of the Russians, because they're saying the exact opposite. So I mean, I would rather say nothing. I'd say I don't know nothing. I don't know before I would go over cross that bridge. That's that's crossing the Rubicon. When you do that, when you go against the United States, you're crossing the Rubicon. So that's enough said about that. Okay. Now here is his characters here. Now here is President Trump with Nancy Pelosi here on the couch. Here's George Washington looking a little not too pleased with the situation. And this was supposed to be Alexander Hamilton. I do the best I could, and I forget who this was, but these are founding fathers in the Oval Office. So here we go. Trump defends himself against the testimony of David Holmes, diplomat for State Department serving at U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. Holmes testified he's never seen anything like the mobile phone call EU Ambassador Gordon Sondland placed to the President Donald Trump at a restaurant in Kiev. So he placed his call Sondland to, like he was like a roommate of his or something like that from college, saying he was taken aback by both the conversation he overheard and the level of candor and colorful language. You know, there was a lot of kind of stuff using, well, you heard some of that stuff, so we're not going to go to that. So President Trump tweeted that he has tried and failed to overhear other conversations. So in defense of that, you see, based upon what he testified, David Holmes, that he overheard the conversation that Sondland was having with Trump, and that his testimony was based upon what he overheard, you see? So he was repeating what he overheard at the table, because Sondland, it was a little too loud at the beginning, and before he put the thing back in his ear, it was exposed a lot of the conversation, because he held it out of the phone away from his ear, and so he heard it. Holmes heard it, and he testified what he heard. So President Trump saying basically that he's tried to overhear himself other people's conversations, and he wasn't able to, and that his hearing is excellent and fantastic and great, and he could never hear anybody's conversation. He tried a lot of times. He just couldn't hear it. You know, hey, let's see what's going on here. You know, I can't hear nothing. So anyway, here is President. So here is an example of how he tried. Basically, I did a cartoon with Nancy Pelosi sitting on the couch here in the Oval Office, and here's President Trump trying to listen to a conversation. She's on the cell phone here. See? There she's on the cell phone. There's Nancy, and here's President Trump trying to listen in, you know, and he has his fingers up. He's happy to hear, and he's trying to listen in. You see, and here in the background, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton. This is Thomas. Remember now, Thomas Jefferson. That was supposed to be Thomas Jefferson. Did my best on that. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Now here we go. Let's have a go with the characters again. Now we bring back the ghost of Nixon again. You know, the ghost of Nixon returns. Not too happy with what's going on with President Trump. You see, our background here is that actually former President Nixon had mentored President Trump at one point, encouraging him to run for the presidency someday, and saying he would make a great president. I read on my own, and they weren't the best of friends by no means. I mean, it was a casual, from what I read, a casual relationship. But President Nixon was very supportive of President Trump one day running for the White House, and said he did say he'd make a great president. So that is what the foundation of my concept of bringing Nixon back, because there was a relationship there, a historical relationship of as distant as it was, it still was a relationship, a supportive relationship from former President Richard Nixon. So here we go. And there is President Trump. And here's the introduction to the cartoon. White House review turns up emails showing extensive effort to justify Trump's decision to block Ukraine military aid after it was placed, and a debate began over its legality. So what happened here basically is that as soon as suspicion arose about this conversation, about the aid being held up, the aid itself, this was nothing to do with the conversation, about the aid being held up, suspicion rose, and basically what happened here is at that point, when the debate began over its legality, the president wasn't turning back on saying, "Oh, we're going to release the aid." He was searching for justifications for holding the aid up, legal justifications, okay? And below a hypothetical justification effort from the ghost of Nixon after Fiona Hill's testimony. So what Nixon's doing here is he's coming back. First of all, he digs what happened here with the situation with trying to defend the withholding of aid. And then former president from up there, way up there, wherever he is, you know, or whatever, below, or above, wherever, you know, it could be anywhere. So he saw that Fiona Hill's testimony, he got wind of that. So he's coming back now to try to basically steer President Trump in the right direction from his own experience and from his relationship in the past. So here's President Nixon advising President Trump at this point after the Fiona Hill testimony. Okay, and here's President Nixon. Take a good look at President Nixon. He's not too happy here about what's going on, you know. There he is. President Trump, always glad to see President Nixon around. You know, okay. I don't like this Fiona Hill, S-H-I-T. I don't like this Fiona Hill, S-H-I-T. Everybody knows CrowdStrike is not a Ukrainian company. In other words, President Trump was trying to say that CrowdStrike somehow is a Ukrainian company, which it is not. It's based, I think, out in California somewhere, not tied to the Ukrainians. So basically that was not an accurate thing to say, but President Trump said it. So anyway, the thing is that CrowdStrike was supposed to have been involved with the server. They had the server, and they were a Ukrainian company. The FBI somehow let, according to Trump's theory, let the server, here's the server, CrowdStrike, take it, and good luck with it, see what you could do against Trump. That's his theory, but nobody has proven that, and it's like the Twilight Zone, in the Twilight Zone type of thing. But the president has been expounding that, and President Nixon is coming back here to try to get, President Trump to fly a little bit, on a little level there, So there has to be something that you can say logically that would be in defense. And President Nixon was pretty good at that. If those are old enough to remember his checkers speech way back in the 50s, but that's a long time ago. But anyway, I'm not old enough to remember that, but I just read about that. Okay, so anyway, I don't like this Fiona Hill, and everybody knows S-H-I-T, and everybody knows CrowdStrike is not a Ukrainian company, and forget that server. Forget about talking about the server, because this I read is that there were many servers around, many servers, some servers are here, some servers are there, some are accounted for, some are not. It's just like President Trump picked out a certain, just grabbed the thing, There's just one server, I gotta get this one server. I know this one server is really the bad server that did all this business. So it's not, based upon what I've read and heard, it's not accurate to focus in on one server or any server. But anyway, that's another story. So advice, so President Nixon's advice here, get Mulvaney to create a new recording about your concerns about world corruption. Now, nobody can argue about President Trump being concerned about world corruption. I mean, you can't say anything about, well, I was concerned about world corruption, and here's the tape to show that I was talking about how we have to straighten the world out with all this corruption in it, and so we can't give out aid to corrupt countries, that they're just going to take the money for themselves, and that money isn't going to go to the people, or it's not going to go to defend the people with weapons. So we have to really target corruption before we can give aid. We just can't throw the money out from a helicopter or whatever and say, here's the money, take it and it's yours. So there's some rationality to that. So this is what former President Nixon was trying to say here. He's not too happy with the way President Trump had been defending himself. And he has offering Mick Mulvaney, who was willing to do anything, walk the gangplank for President Trump, like a gangplank. He'll walk the gangplank and take a dive into the ocean if he have to for President Trump. So here's the man to make this basically, it would be an illegal video in a way, because it wouldn't be evidence, it would be self-created after the fact evidence. But I mean, that's basically in line with President Nixon had. I read about what he had planned to do to defend himself against Watergate, and this was one of his strategies that I read. So I figured it would be a good cartoon to apply it here to President Trump in that way. So that's how I came about with that. Okay, so now, numero uno de la semana, number one of the week. Everybody on Twitter really liked this one. A lot of I don't know if they impressions are basically, they looked or it was available and it came up. But anyway, here is this one here. I'll introduce you to the characters first. This is, I'm not going to make that same mistake, say Mike Wallace again. This is Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace, that's Mike's son. Chris, you know. Chris, I don't know how Mike would feel about Chris working for Fox News, but it'd be interesting. And here is, again, here's Republican Senator John Kennedy. Wow. President Kennedy, if he ever came back as a ghost, he wouldn't be happy with somebody using with that name, saying what he's saying. Boy, that would flip him out good, you know. I have to do one of them. But President John F. Kennedy meeting Senator John Kennedy, that could be a good one. Anyway, so this is a from Fox News Sunday that I did here, and here he is, his best and there is Chris Wallace, Fox News Sunday, interviewing him. Let's have a go at it. Fox News, Chris Wallace pushes back on Republican Senator John Kennedy for the senator's remark that he doesn't know whether it was Russia or Ukraine that interfered in 2016 presidential election. This goes back to President Trump's fat man thing. Could be a fat man sitting on the bed who hacked into the DNC when President Trump. This is the same type of thing. Well, it could have been anybody, you know. So we have no proof they did it, but it could be other people as well. So we can't blame it on anybody, you know. So that was it. So here we go. Here, let's have a go at it. Okay, Chris Wallace initiating here. Number one. Who do you believe was responsible for hacking the DNC and Clinton campaign computers, their email? Was it Russia or Ukraine? Okay. Now, here's the man here, Senator John Kennedy. Oh, I don't know, nor do you, nor do any others. But any others, he's talking about the intelligence. It was unanimous, all our intelligence services. But he said others, I don't know who he meant by that. But anyway, he said it, it's there. So here it is. So then here's where Chris Wallace nails him. He says, let me just interrupt to say the entire intelligence community says it was Russia. And here comes Senator Kennedy saying, basically, Senator John Kennedy saying, right, but it could also be Ukraine. That's what he said. I tapped on, or Uzbekistan, or Uruguay, or Uganda. So that's basically what he said. So I just embellished it with a little humor there by adding those three countries on to emphasize his point, you know. So that was that. So that was number one cartoon here. Senator John Kennedy. Boy, that would be a great cartoon to have John F. Kennedy coming back to haunt him. That would be great. Okay, now here I want to just do a few very quickly, just to show you my couple books that I have out. I'm having a third book coming out in January to the second edition, from January to June. From January to June. From June, yeah, from January to June is the first. June to January is the second edition, and that's coming out very soon. So this was the first book that I did. Some of the, this was, you know, and you could look at, there's a link on my Twitter profile page that you could order from Amazon from, if you ever wanted to. Okay, this was the book. So this book has a history, and you see all the characters here. Just to show you real quickly here. Here's Bernie Sanders, here's Hillary Clinton. So I got basically everybody in here. There's the Clintons, you know, did some drawings, you know. Well, anyway, we're always talking about President Trump, so I don't leave anybody out. You know, I don't leave anybody out. So here we got, here's a Putin call. There's Stalin in the background here, and here we got that sheriff. Remember this lady here? The press secretary is Trump. Well, I think I showed you that once before. Let's see. Here's President Reagan, drawing President Reagan. Here's the President of China. Okay. There's Rand Paul. So I've got a cross section of everybody that. There's James Comey with Trump having a salad at the White House before the main course. Okay. Bernie Sanders again here. There's Bernie. Hillary. Trump.
What are the gardeners doing in the park? What are the gardeners?
Here's Chris Christie. There's Chris Christie. There is the energy senator, Rick Perry. Here's a good one about Rick Perry when he said he was going to shred the Iran deal. So his first day in office, he hits the office and he's shredding the things that work. The paper shred don't work. So he says, I don't know, it doesn't work like the same one. And he left. He didn't put the plug in, so he forgot to put the plug in. That was a funny cartoon I did of that. He left off the plug, so it didn't shred the card. It didn't shred the Iran nuclear deal like he said he was going to do on his first day in office. He tried shredding it to pieces, and he I guess he didn't have the instruction manual to show where to put the plug in. Anyway, so that's a sample of that book. Going back and this is another book here. This is the greatest 2019 political cartoons on greatest book of political cartoons on issues of the Donald J. President 2019. And this was the first edition that went from January to June. So now the second one from June to January is coming out, which are the cartoons that you're seeing now will be in that book coming out in January. Again, you could order it on the link on my Twitter profile page from Amazon. Okay, and I'll just do a quick. I try to give you things that you haven't seen, basically. Okay. Here's Mick Mulvaney. There's Mick Mulvaney with President Trump. Oh, this was the incident with the cough drops, where Mick Mulvaney was coughing during Mick Mulvaney was in the office, and he started coughing. President Trump got very annoyed with him and asked him to leave. So the next time he says he was going to bring Smith cough drops with him in case he has to cough. You see, so he says Smith's cough drops there, and he says if it happens again, you will suck my fantastic jawbreakers. So that's what he's saying to him about the. He brings his cough drops, saying, "I got some cough drops this time, but if it happens again, you're going to have to suck on those jawbreakers." So, here's Adam Schiff. You all see him enough of him here. See? Okay. And he has Trump with the windmills that he got into for a while ago.
What does George try to do? What's he doing here?
Here's Putin watching Giuliani on television. President Putin watching Giuliani. Okay. And here he's saying, Comrade Stalin, check out our Comrade Rudy on CNN. Well, no offense to Rudy, I don't know. I don't want to go too far with that, but he has in memory of his worthy deeds that he did for the city of New York, and during 9/11. So I don't want to go too far with that, because that's still part. We don't, what he is today, or what he's done, or whatever, what he's alleged to have done. But the cartoons are there, and they're not, I always say that the cartoons are not meant to attack anybody or to this, that. It's to make you think and laugh at the same time, and then you draw your own conclusions. And that's really what it's all about. Think, smile, have a smile, laugh, and then think, and don't get upset about no matter what you hear about, because this country's been through a lot worse. But how bad it seems now, we've been through a lot worse than we are going through now. And we will overcome, I'm sure of that. And so folks, I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and you take care and have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.